This is The Scoop on Life. We appreciate you joining us this week. Glad you are along with us with Lauren. I'm Chase, and we have got an exciting show for you today. We've got a local couple in studio with us, Jordan and Mary Haynes, who recently became foster parents. So we are going to dive in the subject of foster care today. Jordan and Mary, thanks for taking time with us here on The Scoop on Life.
Thank you for having us.
And Jordan is actually my brother, for those of you who don't know. So it's cool to be able to be in here in studio with him today. So we're just going to jump right in and get started with some of these questions that we wanted to ask you guys. For y'all as a couple, y'all have been married a few years, and then in the fall, y'all decided to start pursuing foster care. And so what made y'all decide to pursue foster care, and what did that process look like? Is it difficult? Just kind of talk about y'all's experience with foster care.
That's a good question. What made us pursue it? Ultimately, we saw the need through teaching CPR classes with the DHRs in the surrounding counties. They are always talking about how short they are on foster parents. One of them told me that they have tried recruiting in local churches, and they couldn't really get a foot in the door even to, tell them about what the foster care process looks like. And just over and over hearing the need for people to foster locally, adopt also, but mainly just kids having to spend the night at DHR for the weekend or go out of state to try to find somebody just to look after them. So I saw that need, and I brought it to Mary and asked her to pray about what she thought about, pray about it and see what she thought about taking the classes and looking at the process of becoming foster parents. And we didn't realize it was going to be such a huge process, so we signed up to, after praying about it and deciding we were on the same page, we signed up to take the classes, and it was about 10 weeks. Then they do your home study. It ended up taking us about 8 months. It's a long process. Some people had been telling us they were there, been trying close to a year. You had to wait till the class is scheduled, and so the process was pretty long. We another thing we do think of James 1:27, the verse that says, pure and undefiled religion is this, that you take care of widows and orphans, basically take care of the fatherless and the people who can't take care of themselves. And we see widows ministries, and we love those, and we see that, and we don't see as much attention given to orphans or just the fatherless in general. Right. And so that's kind of the need that pushed us both to do that. And we weren't even sure going through the whole class till we came to a decision for sure once we got done that we wanted to do that.
So when you were teaching CPR classes and kind of saw the need there, is that really what got you thinking about it? Because, you've obviously known about foster care your entire life, but was it really doing those classes and seeing the need personally?
It was that, and a guy named Ted Embry explained to me one time. He said, anybody can help. He said, you can sign up and you can be a foster parent that just takes an emergency case. They say, to avoid a kid spending the night at DHR all weekend, you can just give them a home for a weekend. He said that, or there's an option for you to give foster parents a break. They need to go just have a few days by themselves. You can say, we'll watch your kids for up to 7 days. He said, or you can be a foster parent, just a full-time foster parent. He said, there's just anybody can do any one of those three things. And so that got me thinking it was more achievable. We didn't actually set out to be full-time year-round foster parents.
Yeah, we totally signed up thinking we would just do the respite, as they call it, or emergency care. Just initially, we had no idea we would become foster parents for however long it would be.
So how long was it between when y'all finished taking classes until you were receiving calls about potential, foster children that you could have?
We finished classes pretty quick. There's a bunch more. It took several more months to actually get the approval, but we got an approval email at 4:30 on a Thursday saying everything is actually done. You're actually approved as foster parents. And we got a call the next morning at 8 o'clock to take a child.
We had also been called prior. So we were certified by March, but then we had got calls in January saying that they would do like a provisional certification for us because they just had kids that needed to be placed, and they did that a few times before we were actually certified.
That's true. So they had plenty of need even before we were certified, trying to line up something. And then after the pandemic, started when school closed. The cases just they called multiple times a week, even after we had a placement, trying to get us to take more.
Wow.
So you've had a foster child in your home, for 6 months or so now. What have been some of the biggest physical and emotional challenges you've seen during this time, and what are some of the biggest joys that you've seen during the time of having a foster child?
For starting off with a physical adjustment, it was totally a new realm for Jordan and I. We did not have kids coming into this, so just adjusting to routines and having just a child totally dependent on us was new for us. But the situations are different as far as foster children go. The needs are different. So some children may need more of like a counseling based type schedule where they're having to go to counselors often, or just something that is not in your routine that you're used to. So that was a huge physical. Emotional, I would say this is the part that I struggled with the most. It definitely revealed sin and idols that I was not aware I was dealing with or I even had. And so that was definitely the Lord was growing me and just, doing a lot of heart checking right there. But, and also another side is just the emotional is that I don't know what's going to happen with our case. DHR's ultimate goal is reunification with family members. So for us, that means that our placement child could leave us at any point. And so that's really heartbreaking to think about, especially because you're going to grow attachment. So that's hard to deal with. But it's also been just a joy in having him there and just being able to pour into him and speak truth, gospel-centered truth, and speak to him about Christ. I don't know that he's ever had that before. And so just speaking to him and then seeing him respond is just a beautiful thing that we are able to take part of. Jordan was feeling under the weather a few weeks ago, and our child went and identified Jordan's need and in turn started to pray for him and pray that he would get better. And so that was just a beautiful thing that he's
awesome.
Responding.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So you're a foster family. There's foster families all over the county, the state, the country. And an important question is how can the church be a part of foster families' lives? So what ways can the church better support and serve foster families, and maybe give some examples of how the local church has supported you guys?
Well, that's a good question too. So what ways can the local church support foster families? I think the biggest one is, it's kind of twofold, but the first part is having a right view of foster families. So it's the church seeing foster families in their church as maybe local missionaries, because that's what they kind of are. And so if we can see the need that the foster families have and the need for fostering in general, even if you can't foster, maybe just being informed of what's going on and having a foster care ministry, the specifics might be different, look different for every church. But if the local church sees foster ministry as a mission and they say we can have a foster care ministry to support foster parents, whether they're in our own body or locally, then the specifics will be different, but they'll work themselves out. But I would give a few specifics. So the biggest one, I believe, for us and probably for any Christian would be prayer. Our brothers and sisters praying for us. And another one is affirmation and encouragement, Christian affirmation and encouragement, gospel-centered affirmation and encouragement. That's huge. Saying not just, that's a great thing y'all are doing, kudos, wonderful, but giving Christian affirmation and encouragement. And also realizing that anybody can help. Anybody can be a part of the foster care ministry. Sort of like with our missionaries, we see them as the goers and us as the senders. We say we know our role. pray for them, love them, encourage them, give money to their needs and causes. And so usually maybe the money is not the biggest one for foster families, but they still do have needs, and they can the local body can serve them by obviously the prayer, but if the kid may be behind in school, I can tutor them, I can give them a break, I can babysit for them, I can clean their house. There's just multiple ways if somebody starts thinking that they could serve a local foster parent.
Well, and we talked with Dr. Sharon Ford from Focus on the Family last week, and, she talked pretty explicitly that foster care and adoption isn't for everybody, but that everybody in the local church can serve those who are in the foster care and adoption realm. And so, our encouragement to you as a listener would be, maybe you're not called to be a foster care parent or to adopt, but I think it is our responsibility as the local church to say who in our church or who do we know is fostering, is going through the adoption process, has adopted, and then what can I do? And, I would just say personally, until y'all as my family were in foster care, I definitely did not take any responsibility for those around me who were fostering. I knew people who fostered, and I don't know, like it was almost like I cared about it, but not enough to do something because I just didn't know, I feel like. And now seeing y'all hands-on in the church every week, being foster parents, it's been a realization in my own heart that we have to do something, really, like you talked about in James. God cares about orphans. God cares about the fatherless. And so because God cares about it, he commands us to care about it and to do something about it. And so even if foster care and adoption is not for everyone can do something to aid those who are in foster care or adoption. So
I will say Redeemer Church has been encouraging to us. People have prayed for us, offered to watch our child for a time, to give us a break. We've had people give us toys, clothes. It's been super encouraging to see our local church supporting us and doing this.
So, and again, just for our listeners, I would encourage you all to think, who do you know that is fostering? Who do you know that's walking down that path? And as Mary, you mentioned, it's emotional. It's hard. You don't know what the future holds. And be willing to come alongside the people who are walking that road and say, we want to help you. And Jordan, as you said, I'm going to pray for you, but above that, what can I physically do to help you? And so I would encourage you, know the people around you who are in foster care, who are in the adoption process, who have adopted, and seek to reach out to them and love them and serve them in a way that drives you to action, to do something to serve them and serve that foster child or that child that's going through the adoption process.
Jordan and Mary Haynes, we appreciate you taking time with us. We appreciate your heart behind foster care and opening up your home. And thanks so much for taking time with us here on The Scoop on Life.
Yeah, man, thanks for having us.
Thanks.
We enjoyed our conversation there with Jordan and Mary Haynes. We appreciate them for coming on with us, and we appreciate you for taking time to listen to The Scoop on Life. I want to let you know about the ways you can listen to the show. We're on Apple Podcast app, Spotify, and on YouTube. So those are the three ways you can listen in: Apple Podcast app, Spotify, and YouTube. We're also on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for The Scoop on Life, and you can keep up to date with all that we have going on with the podcast. Thanks again for taking time to listen. We'll be back next week with more of The Scoop on Life.